Think back to being a kid. A single summer felt like it lasted a lifetime. School would end in June, and September was so far away it might as well have been a different universe. A car ride to see family felt like an expedition. An afternoon could stretch out so long you'd get bored of being bored. And now you blink and it's December. You look up and somehow another year is gone, and you're standing there thinking, wait, wasn't it just January? Time is doing something it didn't used to do. It's speeding up. And it's not your imagination, it's not just you, and it's not random. There's a real reason the years keep getting shorter, and once you understand it, you'll also understand something kind of incredible. You can actually fight back. Let's start with the simplest explanation, and it's almost insultingly obvious once you hear it. It's just math. Picture yourself at 2 years old. 1 year is half of your entire life. It's this enormous, unmissable chunk of everything you've ever experienced. Now picture yourself at 10. A year is a tenth of your life. Still big, still significant, but smaller. Now you're 30. A single year is 1/30th of everything you've ever known. By the time you're 50, it's 1/50th. The year itself hasn't changed. It's still 365 days. But relative to the total pile of life you're measuring it against, each new year is a thinner and thinner slice. To a 5-year-old, waiting a year for their birthday is an eternity because it's 20% of their entire existence. To you, a year is a rounding error. This idea is over a century old, and it's brutally simple. Every year you live makes the next year a smaller fraction of the whole. So, of course, it feels faster. Each one is literally a smaller piece of you. But that's only half the story, and honestly, it's the less interesting half. Because the math explains the feeling in the abstract, but it doesn't explain the thing you actually experience, which is looking back at an entire year and feeling like it evaporated. For that, we have to talk about how your brain measures time in the first place. And here's the twist that changes everything. Your brain does not have a clock. There's no little stopwatch ticking away up there, counting seconds. Instead, your brain estimates how much time has passed by counting something else entirely. It counts memories. Specifically, it counts new ones. When you look back and judge how long a stretch of time was, your brain doesn't check a calendar. It checks how much stuff is in there, how many fresh, distinct, novel memories got laid down. A period packed with new experiences feels long in the rearview mirror. A period of the same thing over and over feels like almost nothing happened at all, so it collapses down to a blur. Now hold that idea next to your childhood. When you're young, everything is new. Everything. Your first day of school, the first time you rode a bike, your first friend, your first ocean, your first time staying up past midnight. The first time you tasted something you'd never tasted before. Your brain is a fire hose of first times, laying down vivid, high-resolution memories almost constantly. So when you look back at a childhood summer, it feels enormous because it genuinely is enormous in there. It's stuffed with brand new experiences your brain carefully recorded. That's why a single year of being 7 can feel longer than 5 years of being 37. Because look at what happens as you get older. Life gets efficient. You settle into patterns. You take the same route to work. You see mostly the same people. You eat at the same handful of places. You do the same job. You follow roughly the same week on repeat. And your brain, which is fundamentally a prediction machine trying to save energy, does something sneaky. When an experience is familiar, it basically stops recording in detail. Why waste the storage? It already knows this. So whole weeks, whole months of adult life get compressed into a thin little file labeled same as usual. You commuted, you worked, you scrolled, you slept, repeat. And when you look back to measure the time, there's almost nothing new in there to count. So your brain shrugs and reports, that went by fast. It didn't actually go by fast. You just didn't record much of it. This is why the most familiar experience in the world is the one where a whole year vanishes and you can barely account for it. And it's also why the opposite is true, which is the key to the entire thing. You've felt this without ever naming it. Think about the last time you went somewhere brand new, a trip to a city you'd never seen. That first day, packed with unfamiliar streets and sounds and food, feels like it lasts forever. In the best way. You go to bed and you can't believe you woke up in a different place that same morning. It feels like 3 days ago, but then you get home. And looking back, that whole week-long trip feels richer and longer than the 2 ordinary months that came before it. Same amount of clock time, wildly different amounts of life. That's the whole secret sitting right there in plain sight. Novelty stretches time. Routine shrinks it. And once you understand that, the speeding up of the years stops feeling like a curse you're helpless against and starts looking like a problem you can actually solve. Because if your brain measures your life in new memories, then the amount of life you feel like you're living is almost entirely in your control. You are not at the mercy of the calendar. You're at the mercy of your own routine. And routine is a thing you can break on purpose. This is why the old advice to try new things suddenly has teeth. It's not just nice for its own sake. Every genuinely new experience is you forcing your brain to start recording in high definition again. A new skill, a different route home, a conversation with a stranger, a place you've never been, even if it's just the next town over, a hobby that makes you clumsy and a beginner again. Each of these drops a fresh, vivid marker into your memory, and those markers are exactly what your brain counts when it decides how much life just happened. There's a beautiful and slightly haunting flip side to this. The reason childhood felt so long isn't that you had more time. It's that you were paying attention. You were present for all of it because you had no choice. None of it was familiar yet. And somewhere along the way, most of us stopped paying attention. We started running on autopilot, letting the days blur together, waiting for the weekend, waiting for the vacation, waiting for some future that keeps arriving and evaporating. Presence is the thing we lost. And presence, real attention to the moment you're actually in, is the one thing that makes time feel full again. So here's the truth underneath all of it. You can't add days to your life just by wanting to. But you can make the days you have feel longer, deeper, wider. You can make a single year feel like it actually held something instead of slipping through your fingers labeled same as usual. The people who seem like they've lived 3 lifetimes aren't the ones who lived the longest. They're the ones who kept saying yes to new things, who kept themselves a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit curious, a little bit awake. Your brain is always keeping a record. The only question is whether you're giving it anything worth writing down. So the next time you catch yourself saying, I can't believe the year's already over, take it as a signal, not that time is running out, but that too much of it looked the same. Do one thing this week you've never done before. Then another, fill the record back up. Because time isn't actually speeding up. You're just handing your brain fewer and fewer reasons to remember that you were ever here. And that, unlike the calendar, is completely up to you.